The hive city of Praetoria Primus casts a colossal, brooding shadow over the desert world it called home. Praetoria Primus, a labyrinth of steel and concrete, stretched towards the binary suns, serving as a stark indictment of humanity's desperate battle for survival. Within its depths, a storm was brewing, a malignant growth of chaos corruption festering in the underbelly of the metropolis. Henry was not a man of deep contemplation. His mind had been trained to be a deadly tool honed for war. A weapon as sharp as the laser gun slung over his shoulder had a long and sharp bayonet attached to its tip. A veteran with a few campaigns of local law under his belt, his face was a weathered mask of experience, lined with the scars of battles fought and survived. He was a cog in the intricate machinery of the Praetorian Guard, a regiment renowned for its discipline and loyalty to the Emperor and his Imperium. Today, however, there was an edge to his resolve, a tension that rippled through his normally stoic demeanor. Rumors of unrest had filtered down from the command levels, whispers of a chaos cult gaining traction among the Hive's underclasses. A premonition of violence hung heavy in the air, a tangible threat that gnawed at the edges of his consciousness. The regiment mustered within the Hive City, but on the main entrance to the Underhive, all streets and alleys, corridors and tunnels had been cleared by the Arbites hours before the operation. Corporal Henry was the voice that cut through his thoughts. Sergeant Rowan was as formidable as the laser gun he carried. His eyes, sharp and keen, held the weight of countless fights. All companies stand firm. All squads at the ready. Shoulder your weapons and stand by to move. Sergeant Rowan said on his Voxcaster. His voice replied to by a synchronized, "Yes, sir," from all corporals. Henry nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon, where the twin suns cast their harsh, unforgiving light. This was a call to arms, an act of duty, an opportunity to demonstrate his value once more and bring honor to his company and name. As he turned to join his squad in formation, a sense of grim satisfaction washed over him. The Emperor protects those who do their duty. What followed next was the calm voice of Captain Lockwood, calm as a summer breeze on an agri-world. "Good day, Praetorians. Today we engage on uprising control operations on the Underhive. All eyes forward and march. Follow me." A second after this, they were marching, in squads, shoulder to shoulder in standard battle columns, to the Underhive. The descent into the Hive was like a journey into a beast's bowels. As they went deeper, the air grew thick with the stench of decay and industry, the artificial light casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed on the grimy walls. The world of perpetual twilight tested the human spirit against existence's crushing weight of the Hive. Captain Lockwood, a man of austere demeanor and sharp intellect, led the way. His face, etched with the lines of command and experience, was a mask of controlled intensity. Beside him, Sergeant Rowan, a pillar of the regiment, moved with the silent efficiency of a predator scouring the landscape. Around them were the regimental command bodyguard unit. These were the boys that had the sleepy look to them, survivors of many battles and the absolute hardest fighters of the regiment, ready to fight and kill on blink of an eye. Henry and the rest of the squads followed in their wake, their senses on high alert. The weight of their equipment was a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Each footstep was a declaration of intent, a challenge to the darkness. Lockwood's voice echoed through the gloom. Maintain formation, eyes peeled, gentlemen and ladies, weapons at the ready, high-potency volley shots only. From this point forward, everything and everyone is considered hostile, so act according to your duties. The squad tightened their grip on their laser guns, a silent acknowledgement of the captain's words. Despite their familiarity with the Underhive's horrors, this particular descent carried a distinct atmosphere. A sense of anticipation, laced with dread, hung heavy in the air. As they ventured deeper, the sounds of the Hive began to change. A cacophony of unseen horrors replaced the rhythmic hum of machinery. Whispers, murmurs, and the distant sound of torn-apart metal filled the air. A cold dread crept into Henry's heart. This was no ordinary disturbance. The Underhive was a labyrinth of twisted metal and decaying looks. The Praetorian Guard tread on the laws of both humanity and the throne. As the Praetorian Guard marched further, the signs of chaos corruption became more apparent. Graffiti scrawled in profane tongues marred the walls, and the air was thick with the stench of incense and madness. "Look there!" Sergeant Rowan's voice said, a low growl in the dim Underhive, cutting through the oppressive silence. His finger pointed towards a flickering light at the end of a darkened corridor. As they approached, the source of the illumination became clear. A small, makeshift shrine to an unknown chaos deity. Its centerpiece was a grotesque idol, carved from human bone and adorned with twisted symbols. Around this abomination lay dozens of bodies. Underhive workers fallen victim to the violent madness of the cultists, laid there as sacrifices. Around the abomination, a big group of cultists, their eyes glazed with fanaticism, engaged in a ritualistic dance. Prepare to engage, have weapons ready, and take aim. Pick your shots and fire as you may. Captain Lockwood's voice was calm as he was sipping on a cup of recaf on the command tent on a sunny afternoon, a harsh counterpoint to the chaos before him. "Remember who you are," he said calmly. The Praetorians formed a tight battle line with their laser guns primed and bayonets pointed forward. The cultists, sensing their presence in the dimly lit area, turned as one, their faces contorted in a mixture of fear, rage, and madness. A cacophony of blasphemous chants filled the air, a chilling prelude to the violence that was to come. The eager hum of his laser gun matched the pounding of Henry's heart in his chest. This is what they trained for and were born for. A cold determination settled over him. It was time to purge the infection that plagued this hive. The air was filled with the tension of imminent violence. The cultists, a bizarre horde of the hive's underbelly, surged forward with a feral frenzy. Their weapons, crude and makeshift, were no match for the disciplined volleys of firepower of the Praetorian Guard, but their numbers and fanatical zeal made them a serious foe. Henry felt a surge of adrenaline as the first shots erupted. Last bolts lanced out into the gloom, each a precise strike against the enemy. The cultists, with their inhuman screams echoing through the cavernous space, pressed forward, their ranks thinning under the relentless hail of fire. Cultists came running with crude weapons and makeshift clubs and knives, running into high-powered shots that made their bodies explode into a million cauterized pieces. Sergeant Rowan, a bastion of calm amidst the fighting chaos, barked orders with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine. "Stay in line, hold your ground, pick your shots, and fire as you may." His voice, amplified by his voxcaster, cut through the din of battle. The fight was brutal and swift. The cultists, fueled by a twisted fervor, fought with a reckless abandon that bordered on madness. Yet, against the disciplined might of the Praetorian Guard, their efforts were in vain. One by one, they fell, their bodies crumpling to the grimy floor. As they killed the last cultist, a silence fell over the Underhive. The only sound was the guardsmen's rhythmic panting, their bodies slick with sweat and adrenaline. Captain Lockwood nodded, his eyes scanning the corridor for any signs of survival. "On squads, search the area if you please and report. Reload your power packs right now on the double," he ordered, his voice low and measured. "We cannot afford to leave any threats behind." The Praetorians moved through the ruins of the cultist shrine, their senses on high alert. They found no survivors, only the remnants of a twisted lie. As they regrouped, a sense of grim satisfaction washed over Henry. They had done their duty and purged the insurrection. But the battle was far from over. The heart of this rebellion lay deeper still. The heart of the rebellion lay in a subterranean chamber, a hidden sanctuary deep within the hive, as they were yet to find out. As the Praetorian Guard descended into this final hold of chaos corruption on the Underhive, the air grew thick with anticipation. The chamber was a cavernous space, its walls adorned with obscene murals that depicted acts of unspeakable horror blood splattered the corridor walls. At the far end, a figure stood upon a raised dais, its form shrouded in shadow. "This is it, Praetorians." Captain Lockwood's voice was a steady counterpoint to the madness that surrounded them. "Show them the wrath of the Emperor. Let none escape. Fire at will." The Praetorians formed a tight firing line, aiming their laser guns at the shadowy figure. The cultists, their numbers swollen by reinforcements, surged forward with renewed fervor. The battle that ensued was a maelstrom of violence, a clash of steel and faith against madness and despair. Henry fought with a savage intensity, his mind a blank void, save for the primal urge to survive. Last bolts flew in a deadly ballet, each striking a testament to his skill and practice. Sergeant Rowan, a relentless force, stood as a bulwark against the tide of chaos, his laser gun a beacon of hope in the gathering darkness. As the battle raged, the shadowy figure on the dais began to chant, its voice a haunting melody that seemed to seep into the minds of the cultists, fueling their frenzy. However, the Praetorian Guard remained unflinching. Their faith in the Emperor was a fortress impregnable to the mad temptations of chaos. With a final, desperate charge, the cultists launched themselves at the Praetorian line, but it was too late. The guardsmen, their bodies weary but their spirits unbroken, held firm. One by one, the cultists fell, their bodies adding to the growing pile of carnage. As they cut down the last cultist, silence fell over the chamber. The shadowy figure, drained of power, collapsed to the ground. The Praetorian Guard stood victorious, their triumph a testament to their unwavering loyalty and the enduring strength of the human spirit. With the threat neutralized, the Praetorians began the arduous task of securing the chamber and tending to the wounded. As they worked, a sense of camaraderie washed over them. They had faced down the forces of darkness and emerged triumphant. All companies, by squads reform into battle columns, march and follow me, good work. Those were Captain Lockwood's orders. As they exited the hive, the first rays of dawn painted the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The city, scarred but unbroken, stood as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The Praetorian Guard, weary but proud, marched into the sunrise, their duty fulfilled, their honor intact. The Arbites would manage the cleanup, and that sector of the Hive City will be buzzing with the movement of life once again very soon. The Hive City of Praetoria Primus was a wounded beast, its underbelly scarred by the recent conflict. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its harsh light upon the shattered remains of the Chaos cult, Captain Lockwood, his face etched with fatigue, oversaw the operation from the regimental command post near the hive. Sergeant Rowan, ever the pragmatist, coordinated the efforts with the Arbites to secure the hive and prevent further outbreaks of violence. And Corporal Henry, along with his squad, worked tirelessly to restore a sense of order to the shattered community. In the days that followed, the Praetorian Guard became more than just soldiers. They became symbols of order they had always been. They distributed supplies, provided medical aid, and offered words of comfort to a terrified populace. Their presence was a constant reminder that the Imperium would not abandon its citizens to the darkness. Combat was done, but we're going to be staying around here for a while, Henry knew, as the Hive City started to heal on the slow after-combat process. The Praetorian Guard would eventually return to the guard fort, anticipating their next orders. Their mission was complete. The chaos threat was neutralized and the hive was secured.